All right, so let's talk about how to do some more dimensioned drawings for your own parts. And now that we've done this one, so you're going to choose two other parts that are unique to you, that you built, that don't exist anywhere else, that you're going to dimension. Now, in the instructions that you have, there's some important things. You got to have the overall height, width, and depth. You got to have major connection parts shown. And then you've got to choose a few other things. We're not going to fully dimension things because you probably have lots of different curves and things and all sorts of crazy stuff that would be really hard to dimension. But we're going to get an overall picture of this. So let's talk about how to do this. So on mine, I think what I'm going to do is I will do, where's my parts here? There we go. I will, for purposes of illustration, I'll do my chair and the umbrella and maybe one of his arms, just to show some ideas about how to do this and how this looks. All right. So first of all, go to your drawing that you did that has the 4-tab piece. We're not going to create separate drawing files, okay? We're going to just use this one. So over on the left of your screen is where the sheet panel is. And rather than do another file like this or another tab, we're just going to insert a sheet. Okay, so that brings up another one that has, oh, this is interesting. I guess I haven't done this in this program before, that it doesn't keep the same title block. All right, that's fine. Good. I kind of like that most of your information is in your first one, in your first sheet, and then it reduces that for the second. Okay, so I'm going to, again, show you, I'm going to put in several sheets because I'm going to do the chair, the umbrella, and the crab. So I'm just going to show this as illustrations. You can probably speed up the video for this. And let's go ahead and insert. And I'm going to find, if I click on this button, it'll give me a little preview so I can quickly go through and find my chair. Where is my chair? Okay, interesting. There it is. Taking a little while. Wow, 3-to-1. That is going to be huge. Now, my view orientation, if I want to look at that, I can flip it around and take a look at what that is. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I zoomed way out. That will work. So I think I'll do that. Obviously, 3-to-1 is not a good scale. I'm not sure why it doesn't automatically show that. Let's try a 1-to-1 and see what happens. That's still a little bit big. Let's try a 0.75. I'm going to type it in. Now, this is, again, just for me. You have to find the right view for you that's going to work and fit on the paper and still have room for your dimensions. So, okay, I think that's going to work for me. There's my front view. There's a lot of little edges on this, so it's going to take a while for it to render. Finally, and while you weren't looking, I decided to change the orientation that way. And again, you're always going to project from your front view, right? So project. I'm probably going to have to change the isometric to be a little bit smaller scale. I did that again. I hate it when I do that. Sometimes I'll double click and it will produce another view. That's not what I meant to do. What I meant to do was double click on that and change my scale to maybe 0.5. And notice that it says from parent because it's making it the same scale. And I do not like those scale labels. I don't need that for the isometric. And the one thing I like to do is show the shaded view. get that ISO as far out of my way as I can. And I am going to need a right side view of this one. All right, so there's my multi-views of my chair. I'm going to go and set up my multi-views of my umbrella. So here's sheet 3. I wonder if it'll bring it in huge again. We'll see what happens. Yep. Boy, I don't know why it wants to. Everything else seems to automatically go. So now I accidentally clicked that, which I didn't want to do. So I can go back and double click on that and change my scale. Probably going to need to be about half size. I'm going to try 0.5, see what happens. That's about right. Don't need the label. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to have to project this. Now this time, because the right side view would be the same, I think I will just create a front and top view. And I'm going to project and get my isometric. Stop doing that. All right. Did I project it again? I got to stop doing that. Undo's your friend. Here we go. I'm not going to have a scale label. Cool. I am going to turn on shaded though. There we go. All right. And I probably could scale it up a little bit. Yeah, let's try that, see what happens. So let's try 0.75. No, I'm not going to do that. All right. We'll stick with that. All right. Now, remember, I need an overall. Oops, I got to do one more. Going to do the arm. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky, because the arm is actually 2 parts. So this is going to be tricky. Arms. Now, notice that there are 2 parts in the arms. I have to choose which one I want, part 1 or part 2. Doesn't really matter. I think I'll just choose part 1. That one seems to be sized okay. So I'm not sure how this is coming in. I could do that as my front view. I would rather, if that is my front, I want to look at the left, I think, and have that as my front view. Computer's being a little slow. Yeah, I like that. So now this one is a little weird, and you're going to have this problem too, that it's not oriented exactly straight to the little connector circle, but I'm not that worried about that. Again, we're just getting a good general sense of multi-views here. We're not trying to be perfect. Why won't you say a projected view? I must be in a command, hit escape. So I'm again going to create check. I'm always going from my front view. And escape is your friend if things aren't working the way you want it to. And let's make this one shaded. Now there's no hidden lines on these, and if your part is complicated, that's not that big of a deal. If we were doing something like the 4-part tab part where we want to be specific, then we'll have to make sure we do that. Now, I want overall height, width, depth, right? So let's start with going back to my part 1. Again, I know this is a little slow, so you can speed things up. I want my overall height, width, and depth. So I'm going to dimension. I think I'm going to do most of this from the front view. So my overall width is from there to there. It's going to give me 3 decimal places, which is fine. Okay. Now I think I'm going to go outside the views a little bit just because it's cleaner over here. So now I have my overall width, my overall height, and I need my overall depth. All right. Now, I've got those things. Now I have to do some major connection points. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my hidden views for this because I need to show where those little holes are in there. So double click, no, not double click, right click and say I want to show hidden lines. And that is going to bring up showing where those holes are on the inside. Come on, there we go. And a bunch of other things too, but that's okay. So normally you don't dimension hidden lines, but again, these things are so complicated for these parts that I'm not that worried about it. I am going to put a center line though, showing where that point is and where that point is. Now, again, you have some decisions to make, right? How big are things? Where are things? So I'm going to show these major connection pieces and what size they are. So normally we try to go from a baseline, but I'm going to go from smallest to biggest here. So I'm going to go from there and then to here. And again, we're going outside the views because if I didn't, I'd be all over the place. So we are breaking some rules here. Okay, so I'm showing some major connection parts. Okay. And the last thing I'll do, I think, is I'm going to show the width of one slat. And so it will show how many of those that there are. Now, we could do what's called a detail view. I don't really want to get into that yet. But let's go ahead and just choose. I can choose any one of them. Doesn't really matter which one. Whoops, I wasn't in the command. And actually, I'm going to do a different one just so I can save some room here. There we go. Now I'm going to drag that text over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this text by saying including TYP means typical. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call that done. I got my overall height, width, and depth. I'm showing the width of a slat. I'm showing the major connection pieces. I think I've made Mr. Klatt happy. Let's try the next one and talk about the umbrella. Overall height, width, and depth. So let's do that. Overall height. Overall width, I think I'll do up here. No, I'll do it down here. Sometimes you're going to have to zoom way in to be able to see things. Okay, got my overall width, got my overall height. I'm going to need my overall depth, which I think I'll do over to the left, and it's because I'm going to do a different thing over here to the right. Okay, major connection pieces. I think I will show the size of from there to there. I should drag the, oops, I don't know what I just did. Let's go back to my sheet. I should drag that. Okay, and then we're going to dimension the overall size. Now again, I don't have my hidden lines on, and that's okay for this particular one. And finally, I think I'm going to show that these are patterned. Now, to dimension an angle, we can go from one line to another line and show that there are 45. Now, I want to double click on that, and we're going to put at the end of this, instead of at the beginning, I'm going to put times 8, because there are 8 of those angles in there. Okay. So I wonder if I can put a space there. I wish there was a space. Let me try that and see what happens. Can I put a space in there? Oh yeah, look, that looks better. All right. So I've got my overall height, width, and depth. I've got some connection pieces showing what those look like. And I've got another angle here. I think I've made Mr. Klatt happy. Okay, good. And again, it's not fully dimensioned because I'm not showing the overall height of like this angle and all sorts of other things, but this is just the basics. All right, the arm's crazy. So this might be a little bit difficult to get to. Oh, it is showing me the polar top. Okay, fine. So cool. Overall height. Now, this is doing this aligned. I want it to do this linearly. Let me see if I can find a way of doing that. Okay, so right now that's called an aligned dimension, which is showing the overall length of the part, but that's not really what I want. What I want is to show the height in the X direction. So what we can do is, instead of going just dimension, we're going to do, I wonder if I can show that as, oh, there we go. This time it worked. I guess maybe I didn't, I don't know what I did the first time. All right, but that is what I want. Okay. By default, it should go in polar directions, X, Y, Z. So I've shown some things here. This is going to get a little bit difficult because I think I want to show this overall width here and this overall width here. Let's see. It's not going to show me that because it's at an angle. We might have to see if we can put center marks in here, but it's only going to show us things that are showing as a circle. So that's a little bit tricky. Maybe I can dimension the diameter of that circle. All right, we're going to cheat a little bit here. And we're going to put a liter. Let's see if we can put a liter text in here. So one of these, weld symbols, blah, 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 blah. Datums, this is all stuff that I don't need. This is where things get a little tricky. So here's how I'm going to do that. Because I know that the instructors going to want to see some major connection parts here. So I'm going to turn on my hidden lines. And I'm going to break a rule. All right, I'm going to dimension from this point Let's try that again. From that line to this line. Because again, I'm just trying to show things. All right. And now I've got my overall height. Let's do my overall width up here. As long as I have polar ends. Let's see if this will do that. This is going to want to show a radius. It gets a little tricky. So again, you're going to have to, on some of these, just do the best you can. Like I can't find an endpoint on that. I could go back in the model and do that, but the point of this assignment is not to be seen like that. So we're just going to do the best we can to show overall height, width, and depth. So I realize that's not the whole thing. And up here, I'll do my best to show that. So depending on the how complicated your part is, how much curvature it has and things, you're going to have to try to just do the best you can to show some things. So I've got my overall height, width, depth. I'm showing some major connection pieces. One thing I want to do is I want to show, see if I can show an angle of the arm bend, which I've got 2 lines right here. That might work. So let's do that. And let's show that from there to there to show that it's got a 45-degree bend. All right, so I think that if I've got this done, overall height, width, and depth, major connection pieces are shown, and I've got a couple other things. So I think that will make Mr. Klatt happy. Let's go through this again. I've got my sheet 1 was my original 4-piece. Now this has to be done correctly. The other ones, I've got overall height, width, and depth, and a couple other features, including where it connects. Umbrella, overall height, width, and depth, and where it connects. And I've also added what the pattern looks like. And the arm was the tough one. If you've got really curved pieces, that's going to be hard to do. But general height, width, and depth, and some other features on there. Looks good. Again, we're not going to be able to dimension everything on these. If you've got a very simple part, you might be able to. But if you do follow those general guidelines, you're going to be good and you're going to make the instructor happy. All right. Enjoy, have fun. You've finished the project once you've got pictures of these things in your slideshow. So congratulations. Move on to bigger and better things. All right. Have a good one.